Wow, is it hot. Hello everybody, Captain Kildare here, Mariposa PD. And it's a hot day in the neighborhood, my God. 105 or something. Whatever it is, it's too doggone hot for me. I don't like it, not one bit. We're doing names as they associate with personalities. And anyway, all right, well, let's start with names like Rudy. Rudies are often jack of all trades, salesmen. They don't usually sell legal stuff. They usually try to sell illegal stuff because they can get more money, buy nicer cars, because they like to show off themselves because they're usually smaller than average. They're nice people. They're really nice people, but don't cross a Rudy. If you cross a Rudy, you're in for some duty. Okay? If you know what I mean. Probably do Jerry. Jerry is a fun name. Jerry is usually a fun guy. He's usually a happy guy. He's not usually that smart. So a lot of times people will use him as the butt of their jokes. They'll say Jerry did it, or they'll say give it to Jerry, he'll do it. Jerry does like to please other people, so he pleases other people. In doing so, sometimes he compromises his own integrity. Jerry's were always a little bit awkward. They didn't play sports. They couldn't throw a ball or run very well. Very awkward, Jerry's. Now, Jerry's and Phil's are very similar. Phil, Jerry are going to be very similar types of occupations and very similar characters as well. Because their names aren't real. They're funny and they're snappy. So nobody takes them seriously. So Phil's and Jerry's usually guys that are used to not being taken seriously. They're usually bakery owners or bakery truck delivery men. Very few judges are named Phil or Jerry. Again, nobody takes them seriously to begin with, so you're not going to get a lot of judges with that kind of a name because they wouldn't do too well. And down a judgment, and they're not going to say this judgment's being handed down by Phil McCroy. Sounds like he's a hick from St. Duke, wherever that is. It's up in the mountains somewhere, I presume. Not a lot of judges named Phil or Jerry. Jerry, usually a funny man, usually got a good sense of humor. He's got to learn how to laugh at that. If you can't laugh at your life and you can't laugh at things in your life that don't go over well, you're not going to do too well in life as it is. So you got to learn to have a sense of humor about things. I have. So Jerry and Phil, they could become astronauts, however. Some of them will just rebel. I'll show you attitude. And you get some of your Jerrys and your Phils who become astronauts, and they end up on the moon or Mars or something. Now that brings us to the name Perry. Anybody with the name Perry, you don't see a lot of Perrys doing much of anything except entertainment. You got a lot of Perrys in the entertainment, and you got a lot of weather people who are named Perry. You don't get a lot of accountants or lawyers or doctors or judges named Perry because when a guy is named Perry by his parents, he's usually an only child and he's usually a very effeminate man. But that's not significant here. It just happens to be a fact. Perry's, with a name like Perry, if he keeps that name, anyways. Getting back to the name and the profession as it relates to the profession, you got Perry, who's usually an entertainer of some kind, or a weatherman. And that brings us to berries. Berry's always usually weaker than most other guys, but they're fast. They can run. So they can do anything they want to do and get away. Because they're very fast. But they're not very strong. They don't have a lot of muscle. And berries, because they're not very big people, very strong people, they usually have to be thinkers, and so they have to think their way into whatever profession is they do. Excuse me. You got a berry in pretty much every profession. Very few berries left out there. You might have a newscaster or, a sportscaster or a weatherman named Barry, but not a lot of politicians, not a lot of judges, and not a lot of sanitation workers are named Barry.